don't understand what you want from me. What do you want? Do you want me to pick you up?
Oh, hello. We are on camera.
Let's talk about drugs and why we shouldn't do them.
Okay, bye. What am I doing here? What am I doing here? Man, this better be f***ing worth it. Hello all and welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie K. Campbell. The K stands for Kermit, but that's none of your business. Get it? I'm a queer neurodivergent little hair on the lens person who makes videos about getting real, having fun, and living sober, plus a bunch of other Today, the focus will mostly be on living sober, admittedly. Specifically, I'm going to answer the question, is getting sober worth it? I'm gonna say this right up front, there is obviously no hard and fast answer to this question. It's very individualized, largely subjective. And now that that disclaimer is out, I'm actually gonna start off by talking a little bit about the science of decision making. Why? Because choosing to get sober, even for a temporary period of time, is first and foremost a decision that needs to be made. Understand better what drives us to make decisions in the first place, and especially decisions that require us to make a substantial change to our lives, and a sustainable one at that. Getting sober is the epitome of all those things. After that, I'm going to get into why I got sober, why I made that decision to get sober, and why it has been worth it for me. This is coming strictly from my own experience, not backed up by any science. I'm sure that you will catch that the minute I start talking. Perhaps you would feel similarly about why it might be worth it for you. Finally, I'm gonna get into the benefits of sobriety from a quantitative standpoint. Very unbiased, objective, not just me being like a sobriety evangelist, okay? Not that I really am in the first place. It's not me as a sober person just being like,
Everybody should get sober because sobriety is great.
no, there's actually some decent research behind the benefits of getting sober. Getting sober long term, getting sober for a short term period, and reducing the amount of, in this case, alcohol that you're consuming. Let's go. But first, if you like videos about sobriety and decision making and scientific research mixed with anecdotal stuff that may or may not be useful to you, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. If you'd like to support this channel with some cash money, you can buy me a coffee. That link is in the description of this video. Cool. I am drinking a Heineken Zero. There is no alcohol in it. If this is triggering to you, I highly suggest you go watch my other video about drinking non-alcoholic beverages in sobriety. I mean, I could just sum it up for you real quick. It's none of your business what I do, and if anything I do triggers you, then that's your problem. Cheers to that. Probably anybody who was considering subscribing decided against it. Let's start with decision making. That's a perfect segue. Like I said, by asking the question, is getting sober worth it? That means that there is some sort of decision that is eventually going to be made, right? To get sober in the first place. In 2004, researchers published an article in the Journal of Nature Neuroscience where they looked at many brain structures that are involved in decision making. 3 main structures were found to be instrumental in the process. I wasn't gonna add them because, like, why do you even need to know these terms? But like, I kind of wanted to see if I could pronounce them correctly. So it's the anterior cingulate cortex, that's the first one. The orbitofrontal cortex, that's the second one. And the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, that's the third one. Boom, all that student debt was worth it. Guys, the amount of research on this topic is vast, to say the least. I was not expecting this. I should have, but I didn't. I'm pretty sure just like the science of decision making could be in and of itself its own YouTube channel. I'm not gonna create it. I don't know. Actually, who knows? You know, maybe I will. Maybe my ventromedial prefrontal cortex will be like, listen, bitch, you gotta do that. The point, there is a lot of fucking research out there. This is just scratching the surface. I'm gonna do my best, guys. I'm gonna do my best. So in a 2010 Inquiries article by Cindy Dietrich, several factors were cited as influencing decision making. These are the things that come into play when those three structures in the brain are doing their brain stuff. One is past experiences. Whew, that's a loaded one. Cognitive biases, another very complex thing. Age and individual differences. This is why I said this research is vast and complicated. What can be more vast than personal individual experiences? This one's the kicker. Fourth one, belief in personal relevance. So how much you believe that the decision, whatever it is that you're trying to make a decision about, is relevant to you. I'm gonna name the last one, just give me a second to go off on this tangent. If we were to put this to the sobriety question of, should I get sober? Is getting sober worth it for me? If you do not believe that sobriety would be worth it for you because it's not relevant to you, or you believe that, for instance, sobriety is only for people who have severe drinking issues or severe drug problems, you would find doing so to be irrelevant to you. Possibly make you ultimately decide that it's not worth it to even try. That's kind of crazy, right? That's kind of crazy. The last one is an escalation of commitment. How much work is it going to take? Do the ends justify the means? This is tough stuff, guys. My point in saying any of this is to demonstrate that making everyday decisions are influenced by all of these crazy moving parts, all of these cortexes. So just think about how much more complicated it gets when it comes to something like deciding a major life change such as getting sober, or thinking about whether or not getting sober is worth it. It's almost like very obvious as to why people don't do it based on all this stuff. Like, it's an extremely hard decision to make. I'm hoping that with this video, with sharing my own experience with why it has been worth it, that it'll kind of maybe like lighten the decision-making load for anybody who's on the fence about it. Whether or not getting sober is worth it to you, ultimately it is going to be based on personal factors, a lot of personal factors. I can share why getting sober was worth it to me and for me, based on my own experiences. Perhaps you can relate to some of these reasons that I had that maybe will give you a better idea of whether or not it would be a worthwhile decision for you. And shit, like, where the fuck do I even start? I don't know. You know what? Before explaining the reasons why I got sober, I think it's probably important to explain the reasons why I abused and used substances in the first place. I'm gonna limit it to like two main things. Number one is undealt with and untreated mental health issues / conditions, and number two is my surroundings, people in my life, my upbringing, my social circle, and all that jazz. I will be upfront about saying this, and this isn't the first time I've said it, certainly. I do not subscribe to the idea or the belief that addiction is a disease. Probably gonna lose a couple of subscribers from that. That's cool. Or I'm gonna get some comments. That's cool too. I would love to have a conversation about it. I believe substance abuse and use, more often than not, is a reaction or response to something else. A symptom, basically. A symptom is not a disease. Symptom is a symptom, right? Full-fledged addiction can certainly bring on many diseases of pretty much every aspect of your being, whether it's spiritual, mental, physical, emotional. But in itself, it's not a disease, according to me. It should go without saying that I believe my use and abuse of substances was an attempt to self-medicate the mental health conditions and issues that I was dealing with, namely OCD and ADHD. If you guys want me to get more into those things, leave a comment, let me know, maybe I'll make a video about it. The second reason that I used and abused substances were due to, like I said, my surroundings, including the people I hung around with, the town that I grew up in, my family, and like all very good people, all people who I love dearly, but at the end of the day, substance abuse was normalized from a very early age for me, like a very early age, always normal. My biological father was a heroin addict my whole life. My mother suffered with problem drinking, I struggled to say alcoholism, when I was very, very young kid. And they were both super young, teenagers when they had me. So, you know, it was a lot. We were drinking at a very young age, 13, and it just went off from there. It was normal to do. So that's my spiel. Now that that's out of the way, why did I get sober? Just to drink non-alcoholic beer. That's that's a different topic. To simplify it by a lot, my use of substances, mostly alcohol, but other stuff too, was taking more from me than it was giving to me. After drinking and using for like over a decade, the costs outweighed what's the opposite of a cost? Echo, what is the opposite of a cost?
Here's something I found on the web. According to Quora.com, the popcorn is free of charge when you purchase a ticket.
Echo, stop.
In terms of price.
Stop. Honestly, she needs to get sober. The costs outweighed the benefits. The cons outweighed the pros at a certain point. For instance, like almost every time I drank, I blacked out. Go watch my new video about blacking out if you want to hear more about that. I would do something that I regretted most of the time. Then I had to deal with the aftermath of my behavior, which almost always wreaked havoc on my life. My drinking and using was severely exacerbating the untreated mental health issues, which was counterproductive considering part of the reason I was drinking and using in the first place was to combat those things. It just stopped being a successful coping method for me. That is what I would say the main reason why I got sober. Now, with nearly 5 years sober, definitely a flex. I can say with 100% confidence that getting sober was worth it for me and my situation. Few reasons why. I was able to finally treat my OCD and ADHD properly. I was able to get clear-headed enough about my goals and my visions for my life that I was able to act on them. Literally why I'm here doing this, making this video, trying to like make it on YouTube. This is something that I've wanted to do for a very, very long time, and I didn't have the capacity to do it before I got sober. I learned to make community with others who differed in major ways from the people in my life who I had used and drank around, which led me to be overall more competent in interpersonal relationships. I became a better person. Sobriety has made me a better person. I have chills saying that. That's so fucking cheesy. Jesus Christ. Am I even gonna post this? Yeah, I'm gonna. It's enhanced my life. It's leveled me up. And aside from the occasional desire to really want to escape and not be able to do that in the way that I used to, it's the best decision that I've ever made in my entire life. Am I gonna start crying? I'm fine. I'm fine. Now I want to shift the focus to anything else really, because I just got emotional and I never wanted to do that on the internet. Look more towards whether or not there is any empirical evidence that backs sobriety being a worthwhile decision. Like, what are the actual benefits of getting sober? Best study that I could find did focus, like I said earlier, mostly on the benefits of going alcohol free and actually also reducing the amount of alcohol that one drinks. Can't say with certainty that the benefits would be the same for other drugs, but I do think, like, generally speaking, we can assume that some of these benefits would cross over to getting sober from whatever your drug of choice is. With that said, this study was done by the Research Recovery Institute, which, you gotta consider the source. It was a systematic review, meaning that these researchers looked at a shitload of other peer-reviewed articles and studies about the benefits of sobriety or reducing the amount that you drink, and then kind of came up with their own conclusions based on this huge body of research. Nerds, am I right? What benefits did these nerds find about cutting out or cutting back on alcohol, aka becoming sober or becoming sober curious? 1, reductions in injuries and the likelihood of death. It's kind of a big one. Full reduction in drinking, meaning stopping altogether, would certainly lessen the likelihood of those things even more. I mean, it's not gonna completely take away the likelihood of death because we're all gonna die, but maybe not so early if we stop drinking. Or not so gruesomely, you know? The only caveat to this one is that it was actually only over long periods of time, meaning that the reduction in injury and likelihood of death only was statistically relevant in people who did this reduction in drinking or complete abstinence for a long period of time, specifically longer than a year. I also just want to throw out, they didn't mention this, but like if you have less injuries and less death, also like a lot less money. I know that my parents dropped lots and lots of money on hospital bills for me, and I dropped lots and lots of money on drugs and alcohol. Physical benefit, financial benefit, boom, that's 2. The next one that they talk about in the study is physical health. Reducing drinking and stopping altogether actually improves your cardiovascular function and lessens the likelihood of cancer. It lessens the likelihood of cancer. Alcohol is a level 1 carcinogen. The That means it is known to cause cancer. Obviously, taking this out of your life or doing less of it, yes, this probably does too. I don't want to hear it. Yeah, it can help. And also, apparently it can help with diabetes too. So that makes sense because like sugar, physical health, bodily health, boom. The last thing that they cited as a benefit for getting sober, or what we're gonna call going into like harm reduction, sober curiosity, is that it showed an improvement in mental health. Surprise. Surprise. Also in quality of life, also in social functioning. Surprise, 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 surprise. They also do say that these things are much more likely, these particular benefits are much more likely for people who went fully abstinent, not as much for people who just went harm reduction route. That seems a little bit iffy to me if I'm being completely real. Yeah, I get it, it's science, but I know a lot of the studies and the research that's been done around alcohol use and substance abuse and addiction in general has a layer of 12-step ideology built into it. Our society has a layer of 12-step ideology built into it. I think that there might be a little bit of a motive here, is what I'm saying, to push the fact that abstinence is preferable to harm reduction when that really isn't necessarily the case. Whew! I'll also link the studies that I used in the video. Even though I always forget to do that, I'll do it this time. That is really like what it comes down to. If you guys do want to look more into it, like check out the studies, kind of scroll through them, come to your own conclusions. And if you are on the fence, or even if you know somebody who's maybe considering getting sober, it could be helpful to be armed with this information, that all of the things that come into play when decision making takes place. A person who has been sober for several years still saying half a decade later that yes, it was worth it. Yes, I had all of the benefits that these studies mentioned. And knowing that science, whether or not we fully believe everything that they're saying, has backed these claims up, that yes, sobriety is worth it, even for a short period of time, even if it's not abstinence and it's just sober curiosity, harm reduction, things like that. So I know that there's like a lot to chew on here. Always gonna be based on the individual, of course, and what's best for you and what's right for you. However, yeah, I think it's worth it. I do. Just my opinion. Wow. Okay, this was a long one, y'all. Not looking forward to editing it at all. I do hope that it was helpful for anyone who might be thinking about this kind of stuff. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Subscribe to this channel if you like this video, and if you'd like to support, you can throw me $3, $1, $5 towards a coffee or more. If you got it, give it. If you don't have it, that's okay. I need you more than I need your money. I need YouTube's money, so I need your views. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, you are awesome. It's been real, it's been fun, and it's been real fun. Bye guys.